Welcome to the dark side of paradise, where the postcard shot hides a grim punchline. We're diving into 13 beaches that look like heaven on earth, but function more like nature's personal hit list. These aren't your average watch for jellyfish warnings. These are places where the odds stack against you faster than a bad bet in Vegas. If you value dry land, predictable tides, and the simple luxury of not wondering if today's swim will be your last, buckle up. We're heading straight into the jaws of beauty turned lethal. If you appreciate safe shores and the luxury of a beach towel without fearing for your life, support this series with a like. Drop in the comments which beach from this list you'd never last a day on. This helps us keep exploring the world's most lethal coastlines. Beach number 1. New Smyrna Beach, the shark bite capital of the world. Picture this: 17 miles of soft, sugar-white sand stretching along Florida's Atlantic coast. Turquoise water sparkling under a relentless sun, palm trees swaying like they're auditioning for a travel commercial. New Smyrna Beach should be paradise. It has everything a beach bum dreams of: consistent waves for surfing, warm Gulf Stream currents, and enough sunshine to make vitamin D supplements obsolete. Tourists flock here year-round. Locals call it NSB, and real estate prices reflect the dream. On paper, this stretch looks like it was engineered for relaxation and Instagram glory. But here's the bitter twist: nature didn't read the brochure. New Smyrna Beach holds the infamous title of Shark Bite Capital of the World, racking up more documented shark encounters than almost anywhere else on the planet. We're talking hundreds of bites over the decades, mostly from blacktip and spinner sharks that patrol these inshore waters like bouncers at a club. The beach sits in Volusia County, where the combination of mullet runs, baitfish schools, and murky estuarine outflows turns the surf zone into a feeding frenzy buffet. Sharks mistake surfers' dangling legs for seals or fish, especially during dawn and dusk when visibility drops and hunger peaks. It's not Jaws-level great whites hunting humans on purpose. It's more like a tragic case of mistaken identity, repeated far too often. The anatomy of the threat runs deeper than just teeth. Powerful rip currents slice through the breaks here, pulling swimmers out faster than they can scream. Add in the fact that Florida sees more lightning strikes per square mile than almost any other state, and you've got a recipe for chaos, even before a fin breaks the surface. The beach has seen years with dozens of bites, though most are minor. Nips to the leg or hand that send people to the ER rather than the morgue. Still, the sheer volume makes it statistically one of the riskiest places to paddle out anywhere. Locals joke darkly that if you're surfing NSB, you're basically chum with a board. Spend one ordinary day here and the peril becomes visceral. You roll up early with your coffee and wax, the parking lot already humming with pickup trucks and roof racks. The water looks inviting, glassy at sunrise, but the lifeguard flags are already red for rips. You paddle out anyway because the waves are firing, 4-foot sets rolling in clean. Half an hour in, you're catching one, popping up, feeling the rush. Then something brushes your leg. Not a wave, not seaweed. Adrenaline spikes. You kick hard back toward shore, heart hammering, scanning for shadows beneath you. Most days it's nothing. Some days it's everything. Rescuers here deal with everything from exhausted swimmers fighting currents to shark victims bleeding out in the shallows while friends apply pressure and scream for help. The cost? Medical bills in the tens of thousands of dollars. Lost work time. Lifelong scars. And in the worst cases, funerals planned around what was supposed to be a vacation. Yet people keep coming. The irony stings sharper than salt in a wound. The same factors that make the surfing world-class, the baitfish, the warm water, the dynamic coast, also make it deadly. Nature doesn't care about your bucket list or your filtered photos. It just does what it does, indifferent as a storm cloud. Here, human hubris meets evolutionary instinct in the surf line every single day, and the score is rarely even. The real philosophical gut punch? Statistics tell part of the story. Hundreds of bites, few fatalities. But they don't capture the primal fear that hits when you're alone in the lineup and a dark shape ghosts underneath. They don't measure the second guessing every time you wade in, or the way locals scan the water like soldiers watching for snipers. New Smyrna reminds us that paradise isn't free. Sometimes the admission price is measured in adrenaline, scar tissue, or worse. Beauty here is a lure, and the hook is barbed. From shark-infested Florida shallows, we shift gears to something even more remote and unforgiving. Next stop, a coastline where shipwrecks outnumber sunbathers, and the sand itself seems cursed. Hold your breath, we're heading to Africa's Skeleton Coast. Beach number 2, Skeleton Coast, the ship graveyard where the desert swallows the sea. Imagine a place where the Namib Desert, one of the oldest and driest on Earth, slams right into the cold Atlantic like two titans refusing to yield. The result is a coastline stretching hundreds of miles, painted in shades of rust-red sand dunes, tumbling straight into churning gray water. Fog rolls in thick as cotton most days, muting the sun to a pale disk. The air tastes metallic, laced with salt and the faint rot of ancient things. This is Namibia's Skeleton Coast, named not for some poetic flourish, but for the literal bones scattered along its shores. Whale ribs from old whaling days, seal carcasses, and most hauntingly, the rusted hulks of hundreds of shipwrecks, half buried in shifting sands. It looks like the aftermath of a war the ocean won centuries ago and never bothered to clean up. On maps and in drone footage, it screams adventure, isolation, raw beauty. Adventure seekers fly in on small planes or drive rugged 4x4s just to stand on this edge of nowhere and feel small. But the mirage of paradise cracks fast here. What should be a dramatic meeting of land and sea becomes a trap because of the Benguela Current, a frigid upwelling that chills the water to bone-numbing temperatures even in summer. Dense fog forms almost daily when hot desert air collides with that cold ocean blanket, reducing visibility to mere feet. Add powerful shoreward winds, unpredictable swells that pound the beach with relentless force, and shifting sandbars that appear and vanish like ghosts. In the age before engines and radar, sailors had no chance. Portuguese explorers called it the Gates of Hell. Indigenous sand people named the region the land God made in anger. Ships would run aground in the murk, unable to see rocks or bars until it was too late. Once wrecked, escape was impossible. The surf too violent to launch boats back out, the desert behind too vast and waterless to cross on foot. Survivors often perished from thirst, exposure, or predators before help arrived. Today, estimates put the number of wrecks at 500 to 1,000, making this one of the planet's largest unintentional ship graveyards. The anatomy of the threat layers like sediment. Modern visitors rarely drown because few actually swim. The water is too cold, the undertow too fierce, and most come for overland tours, not beach lounging. But the danger is baked into the place. Rogue waves can surge unexpectedly, sweeping vehicles or people off tracks near the waterline. Fog disorients even experienced drivers, leading to vehicles bogged down in soft sand, miles from anywhere. The coast hosts desert-adapted lions, hyenas, and cheetahs that roam the dunes. Rare but real encounters when food is scarce and seals haul out on the beaches. Sharks, 11 species, including great whites, patrol the cold, nutrient-rich waters drawn by seal colonies. No major recorded attacks on humans here yet, but the potential simmers. And if you break down far from a ranger post, no cell service, no roads in the strict sense, just permit-only tracks through national park wilderness. Rescue might take days, and dehydration sets in fast under that relentless sun when the fog burns off. Picture one typical day for the foolhardy soul who ignores every warning sign and ventures too close. You arrive by light aircraft, landing on a gravel strip near the Ugab River mouth. The pilot reminds you, stay on designated paths, don't approach the water, carry extra water. You nod, adrenaline already buzzing. You drive north in a rented 4x4, windows down, tasting dust and brine. The landscape unfolds in surreal slow motion. Towering dunes striped with wind ripples, seals barking in the distance, the occasional skeletal mast protruding from sand like a broken finger. You stop at a famous wreck, the Edward Boleyn, beached inland since the early 1900s, now half a mile from the tide line as dunes marched over it. You walk the beach, boots sinking, photographing rusting plates and twisted metal. The fog thickens suddenly, swallowing sound and sight. Your vehicle, parked just yards away, vanishes. Heart rate climbs. You call out, but the mist muffles everything. Panic edges in as you realize the tide is rising, waves louder now, unseen. You stumble toward where you think the truck is, legs heavy in soft sand. Minutes stretch. Finally, the shape emerges, safe, for now. But the lesson lands hard. One wrong turn, one ignored fog bank, and you're another statistic in a place that doesn't forgive mistakes. The irony bites deepest in the contrast. Luxury lodges dot the edges of the park, offering champagne sundowners while guests gaze at this lethal beauty from safe verandas. Tour operators fly over wrecks, narrating tales of doomed voyages, like ghost stories around a campfire. Yet the coast itself remains indifferent, a place where human plans dissolve faster than footprints in wet sand. Nature here doesn't need malice. It just combines elements in ways that amplify vulnerability. The same upwelling that feeds rich marine life dooms sailors. The fog that hides beauty also hides peril. Survival odds tilt heavily against anyone who treats it casually. Philosophically, Skeleton Coast forces a reckoning with scale. Statistics count wrecks and fatalities from long ago, but they miss the existential weight. The silence broken only by surf and wind. The feeling that you're trespassing on a world that doesn't need or want you. It whispers that paradise and punishment share the same coordinates, separated by nothing more than luck and hubris. Here, beauty isn't a gift, it's bait. And the hook is the illusion that you can walk away unscathed. From the fog-shrouded wrecks of Namibia, we turn to icy black sands where the ocean itself seems angry. Next up, a volcanic shore in Iceland, where sneaker waves turn tourists into headlines. Brace yourself, the cold here cuts deeper than you expect. Beach number 3, Reynisfjara Beach, the black sand beauty that kills with sneaker waves. Envision a shore where the sand is midnight black, ground from volcanic eruptions that shaped Iceland itself, stretching beneath towering basalt columns that rise like the pipes of some ancient organ frozen in stone. Reynisfjara Beach, on Iceland's rugged southern coast, near the village of Vík, looks ripped from a fantasy film. Jet-black pebbles crunching underfoot, sea stacks piercing the horizon like jagged teeth, Atlantic rollers crashing with theatrical fury. It's one of the most photographed places on the island, a staple on every ring road itinerary, where tour buses disgorge visitors eager for that perfect dramatic shot against the dramatic cliffs. The contrast is intoxicating. Dark sand against white foam, green hills rolling inland, puffins wheeling overhead in season. It promises raw elemental beauty, the kind that makes you feel alive just standing there. Yet this postcard perfection masks one of the planet's most unforgiving coastal traps. Reynisfjara earns its grim reputation as Iceland's deadliest beach, and often ranks among the world's most lethal, thanks to sneaker waves, also called rogue or sleeper waves. These are freakishly large surges that appear without warning amid ordinary sets, surging far up the beach with terrifying speed and power. The south coast faces the open North Atlantic, where storms thousands of miles away generate swells that travel unimpeded until they slam into shore. Waves here have been recorded reaching heights of up to 40 meters in open water, though on the beach they manifest as sudden walls of water that can rush inland, 30 or 40 feet beyond the normal tide line. The black volcanic sand is loose and steep, creating a perfect hydraulic effect. Water rushes up, then sucks back with ferocious undertow, dragging anything, or anyone, into the frigid depths. Water temperatures hover around 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Even strong swimmers go hypothermic in minutes. Multiple fatalities have occurred over the years, including tourists swept away while posing for photos, turning their backs to the sea for just a second too long. Recent incidents include a young girl lost in 2025, families caught in caves or near cliffs, and rescuers unable to reach victims in time due to the relentless pull. The anatomy of the threat is geological and meteorological cruelty combined. Iceland sits atop the mid-Atlantic ridge, with frequent eruptions and earthquakes reshaping the coast. Reynisfjara's steep drop-off and basalt formations funnel energy into focused, unpredictable surges. Sneaker waves don't follow predictable patterns. They can strike on calm days when smaller waves lull visitors into complacency. Warning signs in multiple languages line the parking area. A red, yellow, green traffic light system glows to indicate danger zones. Red means stay far back, no exceptions. But tourists often ignore them, drawn closer by the mesmerizing columns or the urge for a closer selfie. Erosion has worsened things dramatically. Powerful storms in recent winters have eaten away at the beach itself, collapsing cliffs, flooding parking lots, and making parts inaccessible even from safe vantage points. What was once a broad stretch is now narrower, more treacherous, with the ocean claiming more ground each season. Spend one ordinary day here and the peril unfolds in slow, chilling motion. You arrive mid-morning on a tour bus or rental car, the wind already whipping salt spray across your face. The lot buzzes with excitement, people snapping photos of the Reynisdrangar sea stacks, legends of trolls turned to stone by sunlight adding folklore charm. You descend the path, boots sinking into cool black grains that glint like obsidian. The waves look manageable at first, rhythmic and distant. You walk toward the famous basalt cave or the hexagonal columns, camera out, mesmerized by the scale. A set rolls in, normal, frothy. Then, without buildup, a larger wave rears up, silent until it's too late. It surges 20 feet inland, foaming around ankles, knees, waists. People scream, scramble backward, but the backwash yanks harder than expected. Phones, hats, even people vanish into the churn. Rescuers, when they arrive, face near impossible odds. Cold water saps strength fast. Currents sweep victims far out before help can launch. Helicopters sometimes hover, but the wind and spray make precision tough. Survivors describe the terror, one moment standing dry, the next fighting for breath in water that feels like liquid ice. Lungs burning, legs useless against the pull. Medical response involves hypothermia treatment, broken bones from tumbling rocks, and in the worst cases, recovery operations that stretch days. The bitter irony cuts deep. This beach draws millions in tourism revenue for Iceland. People come for the cinematic drama, the Game of Thrones vibes, parts filmed nearby. The sense of standing at the edge of the world. Yet the very elements that make it iconic, the raw power of the Atlantic, the volcanic starkness, turn it lethal. Authorities have installed more warnings, lights, barriers, but human nature persists. The desire for the perfect shot overrides caution. It's a modern parable of distraction meeting indifference. Nature doesn't rage. It simply operates on scales and forces we underestimate. Philosophically, Reynisfjara strips away illusions of control. We arrive thinking beauty is safe to possess, that a warning sign is enough, that our awareness protects us. But the ocean here reminds us we're guests on borrowed time, that a second of inattention can erase everything. Stats count bodies, several in the last 2 decades, but miss the near misses, the lifelong fear in survivors, the way every wave now carries a shadow of dread for those who've witnessed it. Beauty isn't neutral. Sometimes it's actively hostile, luring us close enough to strike. From Iceland's vanishing black sands and rogue wave roulette, we pivot to warmer waters hiding subtler killers. Next, a tropical paradise where invisible stingers turn a dip into agony, or worse. Get ready, the jellyfish here don't forgive. Beach number 4. Northern Queensland beaches, for example, 4 Mile Beach, Port Douglas. The box jellyfish killing fields. Visualize a tropical idyll straight out of every dream vacation brochure. Powdery white sand curving gently for miles, fringed by swaying coconut palms, turquoise shallows fading into deeper sapphire, the Great Barrier Reef just offshore promising colorful corals and fish. Northern Queensland's beaches. Think 4 Mile Beach in Port Douglas, or stretches near Cairns, Palm Cove, Mission Beach. Radiate postcard perfection. Warm trade winds, year-round sunshine, luxury resorts with infinity pools overlooking the sea. Snorkelers glide over reefs, families build sandcastles, backpackers sip cocktails at sunset. This is Australia's tropical playground, where the ocean feels welcoming, the water bath-like, and danger seems like something that happens elsewhere. But paradise here harbors one of the planet's most efficient silent assassins, the box jellyfish, Chironex fleckeri, often ranked as the most venomous marine creature alive. These translucent, cube-shaped bells drift in with the tides during stinger season, roughly October through May, trailing up to 60 feet of nearly invisible tentacles loaded with millions of microscopic harpoons called nematocysts. One brush and the venom fires instantly, attacking heart, nervous system, and skin in a cascade of agony that can stop a heart in minutes. Fatalities aren't daily headlines, but they've claimed dozens over decades, with estimates of 40 to 100 deaths annually worldwide from box jelly species, many in northern Australia and nearby Indo-Pacific waters. In Australia alone, while numbers have dropped thanks to prevention, each sting remains a medical emergency. Excruciating pain, described as worse than anything imaginable. Welts like whip marks. Cardiac arrest possible before victims reach shore. Recent years saw incidents like a teenager lost at Emeo Beach in 2022, tourists airlifted, locals netting jellyfish in drags to clear swimming zones. The anatomy of the threat blends biology, season, and human behavior. These jellyfish spawn in estuaries and mangrove-lined creeks after rain, then drift into coastal shallows on calm, warm currents. Heat, freshwater runoff, and still seas create perfect conditions, exactly when tourists flock to swim. The creatures are almost transparent in water, tentacles trailing like fine threads, making them undetectable until contact. Unlike irukandji jellyfish, smaller but insidious, box jellies deliver massive venom doses quickly. Stings cause immediate shock, screaming pain, rapid heartbeat, then potential shutdown. Vinegar poured on tentacles neutralizes unfired nematocysts, hence bottles stationed at every patrolled beach, but the damage is often done. Lifesavers patrol with drag nets. Stinger suits are mandatory for water activities in season. Signs warn in stark terms, no swimming during peaks. Yet complacency kills. People wade in for a quick dip, ignoring flags, thinking it won't happen to me. One typical day in the danger zone reveals how thin the line is between bliss and horror. You check into a beachfront resort in Port Douglas, the ocean glittering invitingly. Signs at the entrance show the stinger season calendar, red for high risk, but the water looks so calm, so tempting. You grab a stinger suit from the rental shack, full-body lycra that covers most skin, or decide it's too hot and skip it. You wade in ankle-deep, warm as bathwater, kids splashing nearby. A gentle current brushes your leg, nothing alarming. Then fire erupts across your calf, thigh, arm, searing, electric, like being lashed with hot wires soaked in acid. You scream, thrash, collapse in the shallows. Tentacles cling, pumping more venom. Bystanders rush over. Vinegar bottles appear from stations, poured frantically. Pain blinds you, breathing shortens. Someone calls 000. Paramedics arrive, oxygen mask on, adrenaline shots, hospital run. Survivors recount the terror. Pain so intense it feels eternal. Scars that last years. Nightmares of invisible killers. In fatal cases, cardiac arrest hits before help arrives. victims gone in minutes on what was supposed to be a relaxing holiday. The sharpest irony? This same marine biodiversity draws millions. The reef's wonders, whale watching, diving. Tourism pumps billions into Queensland. Yet the box jellyfish is the price tag few read fully. Prevention works. Nets, suits, education have slashed fatalities. But the threat persists because nature doesn't negotiate. Jellyfish follow ancient cycles, indifferent to human calendars or Instagram feeds. Resorts post warnings, beaches close sections, but the allure of warm water overrides caution every season. Philosophically, these shores confront us with vulnerability in luxury's guise. We chase tropical escape, assuming safety in beauty. But here, venom hides in clarity. Stats show declining deaths thanks to vigilance. Yet each incident underscores hubris, thinking we can dip into wild systems without consequence. The real dread isn't the pain, it's the invisibility, the randomness. One stroke of luck separates a perfect day from oblivion. Northern Queensland's beaches remind us that some paradises come armed, and the deadliest threats often float unseen just below the surface. From Australia's venom-laced tropics, we head to shark-patrolled waters off South Africa, where great whites circle like shadows. Next, Hansby, the great white shark capital, where cage diving meets real risk. Steel yourself. The fins here are very real. Beach number 5, Gansby, Shark Alley. The great white shark viewing capital, where the cage might not be enough. Picture the rugged coastline of South Africa's Western Cape, where cold Antarctic currents sweep up from the south, meeting nutrient-rich waters that teem with life. Gansby, a small fishing town about 2 hours east of Cape Town, overlooks Dyer Island and Geyser Rock, home to massive colonies of Cape fur seals that bark incessantly across the channel known as Shark Alley. The beaches here are wilder than polished resort strips. Rocky outcrops, kelp forests swaying in the swell, dramatic cliffs dropping into deep blue water. From June through September, visibility can reach 60 feet or more, turning the ocean into a living aquarium. Cage diving operators launch daily, promising close encounters with great white sharks, the apex predators that once made this one of the densest concentrations of the species anywhere on Earth. Tourists strap on wetsuits, drop into steel cages bolted to boat sides, and watch jaws the size of dinner plates glide past, inches away. It's thrilling, cinematic, the stuff of documentaries and bucket lists. The area should be a celebration of marine wonder, a place where humans glimpse the wild without harm. The bitter paradox hits hard. This very abundance of great whites turned Hansby into a hotspot, where the line between observation and risk blurs dangerously thin. While cage diving is heavily regulated and statistically safe, thousands of dives occur annually with minimal incidents. The open water around these beaches carries real peril. Great whites here grow to 20 feet, powered by curiosity and instinct rather than malice. Attacks on humans are rare, but when they happen, they're often severe. Bites to legs, torsos, or surfboards mistaken for prey. The region's history includes documented encounters, though fatalities are low compared to other shark zones. What amplifies the threat is the ecosystem shift in recent years. Orcas, those intelligent pack hunters, arrived in force around 2015, targeting great whites specifically for their nutrient-rich livers. Drone footage captured orcas ramming sharks, flipping them, and extracting organs in seconds. The result? Great white sightings plummeted dramatically. Once hundreds in a season, now sporadic or absent in many years. Operators pivoted to spotting bronze whalers, seven-gill sharks, or whatever remains. But the void left by vanishing whites raises questions. Displaced predators might push others closer to shore, or the food chain disruption could alter behaviors unpredictably. Add powerful rips from the Agulhas current influence, cold water that saps body heat fast, and the isolation. Many stretches are unpatrolled, accessible only by rugged tracks, and you have a coastline that demands respect. The anatomy of danger here layers evolutionary precision with modern tourism irony. Great whites hunt by ambush, striking from below with explosive speed. In clear water, they investigate boats, cages, even floating objects. Most attacks are investigative bites. Test bites on surfers or divers mistaken for seals, followed by retreat when the taste doesn't match blubber. But those test bites can sever arteries or crush bones. Cage incidents are exceedingly rare thanks to reinforced bars and protocols. Yet surface-level risks persist. Swimmers, kayakers, or spearfishers venturing too far. Orca's presence adds another wild card. Though they ignore humans, their predation on sharks has reshaped local ecology, potentially making remaining predators bolder or hungrier. Weather turns vicious fast. Sudden squalls whip seas into chaos, stranding boats or swimmers. Rescue here involves helicopters from Cape Town or local vessels, but response times stretch when conditions deteriorate. Spend one ordinary day chasing the thrill, and peril creeps in subtly. You book a dawn cage dive, drive the coastal road past whitewashed houses and fishing boats. The harbor smells of diesel and brine. Seals haul out on rocks like sunbathers. The boat motors out to Shark Alley, chum slick trailing behind, fish heads and blood to draw sharks without overfeeding. You suit up, descend into the cage as waves slap the hull. Engines idle. Minutes pass in anticipation. A shadow appears, sleek, massive, pectoral fins like wings. It circles, eyes black and unreadable, then lunges at the cage bars with a metallic clang. Adrenaline floods, cameras click. Most trips end euphoric. Sharks glide away, no harm done. But imagine a solo surfer farther along the coast, catching dawn glass at a remote break. A fin breaks surface behind. Heart stops. The shark rams, board snaps, teeth sink. Rescue might find only pieces. Or a diver straying from the group, currents pulling offshore into deeper blue, where visibility drops and shadows multiply. Cold seeps in. Panic rises. The irony stings. The same sharks that draw crowds for safe viewing can turn lethal in unguarded moments. The sharpest sarcasm? Cansby built an economy on shark tourism. Cage diving generates jobs, conservation funds, global awareness. Yet the very fascination fuels pressure. Chumming debates rage. Does it habituate sharks? While orca predation and overfishing deplete prey, pushing the system toward collapse. Sightings crash so hard that some operators rebranded to marine safaris, downplaying great whites. Nature laughs at our attempts to commodify it. Beauty here is predatory, not passive. Philosophically, Shark Alley confronts the hubris of proximity. We pay to stare into the eyes of killers, assuming steel and distance protect us. But the ocean doesn't read waivers. Stats show few fatalities, yet each near miss or historical bite reminds us we're not at the top of the food chain here. The thrill derives from that edge, knowing one miscalculation, one rogue wave, one curious bite separates awe from tragedy. Gansby whispers that true wilderness can't be fully tamed or observed safely. It observes you back. From South Africa's shifting shark shadows, we sail to remote Hawaiian shores, where powerful currents claim more lives than predators. Next, Hanakapi'i Beach, the trail's end where the sea reclaims the unwary. Prepare. Paradise here hides a relentless pull. Beach number 5, Hanakapi'i Beach, the rip current reaper at the end of the trail. Envision the ultimate reward after a grueling hike. A secluded crescent of golden sand framed by sheer green cliffs plunging into the Pacific. Turquoise waves rolling in under a vast Hawaiian sky. The distant roar of surf echoing off the Na Pali coast's volcanic walls. Hanakapi'i Beach, reached after 2 miles along Kauai's legendary Kalalau Trail, feels like a secret discovered at the edge of the world. No roads, no crowds, no facilities, just raw, untouched beauty that makes the sweat and sore muscles worthwhile. Hikers arrive panting, drop packs, gaze at the endless blue, and often think, this is why we came to paradise. The isolation amplifies the magic. It's the kind of place that inspires quiet awe, perfect for a dip to cool off, or photos that will make friends back home jealous. But the postcard illusion shatters the moment you approach the water. Hanakapi-ai ranks among the planet's most lethal swimming spots, not from sharks or jellyfish, but from rip currents so ferocious they have claimed dozens, perhaps over 80, lives since the 1970s. The beach lacks any protective reef, leaving it exposed to the full fury of open ocean swells. Powerful, unpredictable rips shoot seaward like invisible rivers, pulling swimmers far beyond the breakers in seconds. High surf, especially in winter, generates massive shore breaks that slam bodies against the steep sand slope, while cross currents sweep victims sideways along the coast. The nearest safe landing point lies miles away. Once caught, escape demands swimming parallel to shore for exhausting distances against unrelenting force. Bodies often vanish entirely. Currents carry them deep or far. At least 15 victims from this stretch remain unrecovered. Official tallies vary. Local reports cite around 30 drownings from 1970 to 2010, with unofficial signs at the trailhead etching marks that push the count higher. But the pattern holds. Good swimmers die here regularly, lured by calm appearances into fatal miscalculation. The anatomy of the threat stems from Kauai's wild geography and Pacific dynamics. The Napali coast's steep underwater drop-offs funnel energy into focused, violent surges. No barrier reef means waves hit full strength, creating hydraulic backwashes and rips that form unpredictably. Rain upstream can swell streams, but the ocean danger peaks independently. Clear days bring deceptive serenity, then a set rolls in and the water turns chaotic. Warning signs scream caution. Drownings occur here regularly, with a grim tally of hash marks carved into wood, updated by rangers or hikers. Yet the hike's exertion dulls judgment. People arrive hot, tired, triumphant, and see inviting water after miles of effort. The Kalalau Trail itself adds peril. Slippery mud after rain, narrow ledges with sheer drops. But the beach claims most victims through sheer temptation. One ordinary day here unfolds like a slow-building tragedy for the unprepared. You start at Ka Beach Trailhead, permit in hand or day hiking, backpack loaded with water and snacks. The first 2 miles wind through jungle, past streams, over roots, gaining elevation then dropping to sea level. Sweat soaks your shirt, legs burn. Finally, the trail opens to the beach, sand warm, cliffs dramatic, ocean glittering. You kick off boots, wade in to cool calves. Waves look playful, foam white against blue. You venture deeper, perhaps body surf a small breaker. Then the bottom drops away sharply, current grabs like a hand. Panic spikes, you kick toward shore but land recedes. Arms tire fast, breathing labors. The rip carries you out hundreds of yards in minutes. If lucky, you float, signal for help, though cell service is non-existent, and rescue means helicopter or boat from distant Hanalei, hours away. Most don't float long. Exhaustion sets in, waves push under. Survivors describe the terror, fighting futilely, realizing the ocean's indifference. The hike back to safety, now impossible. Rescuers face grim tasks, searching vast areas, recovering little. Medical aftermath for the rare saved. Hypothermia despite tropical warmth. Broken limbs from tumbling. Lifelong trauma from watching friends vanish. The irony slices sharpest in the contrast. This beach crowns one of the world's most scenic trails, drawing thousands annually for its beauty and remoteness. Hawaii tourism thrives on such escapes, yet the very allure kills. Signs warn, guides caution, but human nature persists. Just a quick dip. It looks fine today. Nature here offers no mercy. It combines isolation, power, and deception in lethal measure. The same currents that sculpt the coast doom those who test them. Philosophically, Hanakapi'ai strips illusions bare. We hike for transcendence, assuming effort earns safety, that beauty rewards rather than punishes. But the ocean doesn't grade on participation. Stats count bodies, dozens confirmed, more whispered, but miss the dread in every hiker's glance at the water, the silent calculation of risk versus reward. It teaches humility. Paradise isn't earned, it's borrowed, and the lender can revoke instantly. Here, the trail's end isn't victory. It's a reminder that some horizons hide graves. From Kauai's current haunted seclusion, we shift to crocodile-infested mangroves, where the sand conceals ambush predators. Next, Cape Tribulation, Australia, where the reef meets the rainforest, and danger lurks both in and out of the water. Stay alert. Things get primal from here. Beach number 6, Cape Tribulation, where the reef meets the rainforest and death waits in multiple forms. Imagine the rare convergence where two World Heritage sites collide, the ancient Daintree rainforest spilling directly onto the white sands of the Great Barrier Reef's edge. Cape Tribulation, in far north Queensland, Australia, boasts beaches of soft coral sand fringed by dense green jungle, crystal clear shallows over vibrant reefs, and dramatic mountains rising behind like emerald walls. The air hums with bird calls, the scent of wet earth and salt mingles, and the water glows invitingly under perpetual tropical sun. Named by Captain James Cook after his ship struck the reef nearby in 1770, the place feels like the birthplace of adventure. Untamed, pristine, the kind of spot that makes you believe you found the last true wilderness. Eco-lodges dot the coast, offering guided walks, snorkeling trips, and the promise of reconnecting with nature in its rawest state. Yet this Eden is laced with poison from every direction, earning it rankings as one of the planet's most hazardous beaches in various analyses. The primary killers are box jellyfish and their smaller, stealthier cousins, the irukandji, drifting in during stinger season from roughly October through May, or sometimes year-round in these warm, sheltered waters. Saltwater crocodiles, salties, lurk in estuaries, creeks emptying onto the sand, and occasionally patrol the shallows or even cross beaches during breeding movements. Venomous snakes slither through the undergrowth right to the tide line. Cassowaries, those prehistoric-looking birds with dagger-like claws, roam the forest edges and can deliver fatal kicks if cornered. And the jungle hides everything from deadly spiders to stinging trees. No single threat dominates. It's the cocktail that makes Cape Tribulation uniquely lethal. While fatalities are sporadic, box jelly stings have claimed lives across northern Queensland. Croc attacks occur in the region, though rarely documented precisely here. The potential for catastrophe is constant. Signs warn, croc country, stingers present, and swim at your own risk, but the beauty tempts many to ignore them. The anatomy of peril weaves biology, ecology, and isolation. The Great Barrier Reef's proximity creates calm lagoons, ideal for jellyfish breeding, after rains flush nutrients from mangroves. Box jellies, with bells the size of basketballs and tentacles stretching dozens of feet, drift silently, nearly invisible, firing venom that attacks nerves and heart in minutes. Irukandji, tiny as thumbnails, deliver delayed agony that can trigger cardiac issues hours later. Crocodiles thrive in this habitat. Estuaries provide nurseries, the ocean offers hunting grounds, and they can lunge from ambush with terrifying speed. The area's remoteness compounds everything. The nearest major hospital lies hours away by road. Rescue often requires airlift, and cell coverage fades in the jungle. Weather turns fast. Monsoons flood creeks, turning paths to rivers, while the lack of patrols means no lifeguards, no nets, no guaranteed help. Spend one typical day venturing into this double-edged paradise, and the dangers reveal themselves layer by layer. You drive the bumpy Bloomfield track or arrive by boat, pulling into a quiet cove where rainforest meets sea. The beach stretches empty, waves lapping gently, reef visible through gin-clear water. You hike a short trail to a viewpoint, sweat mixing with humidity, spotting colorful birds and perhaps a distant cassowary crash through underbrush. Back at the sand, you consider a swim. The water looks perfect, warm, no obvious threats. But stinger nets are absent here. Vinegar bottles sit at some access points, a grim reminder. You wade in cautiously, perhaps wearing a full stinger suit if wise. A faint brush against your leg, maybe seaweed. Then fire explodes across skin, tentacles wrapped, nematocysts firing. Pain blinds, you stagger out, screaming. Vinegar pours on, but the venom courses deeper. Breathing shallows, heart races erratically. Someone calls emergency services. Evacuation begins, but minutes feel eternal. Alternatively, a croc sighting. A log in the creek mouth suddenly eyes you, slides into water silently. Heart stops. You back away slowly, knowing one wrong step, and it's over. Or a cassowary charges from the tree line. Rare but documented aggression leads to gashes that require stitches or worse. Survivors recount the shock. One moment immersed in beauty, the next fighting for life against invisible or lurking foes. Medical response involves anti-venom flights, intensive care, scars that last lifetimes. The irony cuts like a reef edge. Cape Tribulation draws eco-tourists seeking authentic wilderness, hikes, kayaking, wildlife spotting, generating income for conservation and local communities. Yet the very biodiversity that enchants also endangers. Authorities post warnings, promote stinger suits, advise croc-wise behavior, no dawn/dusk swims, no dangling limbs. But curiosity overrides caution. Nature here doesn't single out victims. It simply exists in perfect, indifferent balance. Predators hunt, venoms defend, currents flow. Humans are the interlopers who forget the rules. Philosophically, this beach forces confrontation with interconnected risk. We romanticize untouched nature as healing, assuming awe equals safety. But Cape Tribulation shows paradise can be predatory on multiple fronts: water, land, air. Stats on fatalities remain low compared to busier spots. Yet each incident highlights vulnerability. A brush, a glance away, a moment of temptation. It teaches that true wilderness demands respect bordering on fear. Beauty here isn't passive. It's armed, watchful, and utterly uninterested in human comfort. From the multi-threat jungles of Cape Tribulation, we head to volcanic fury, where lava meets sea in explosive drama. Next, a black sand shore in Hawaii where the ocean boils and the ground shakes. Hold tight, things get molten. Beach number 7, Kilauea Ocean Entry Areas, black sand beaches near lava flows. The molten meeting where water and fire collide lethally. Envision a surreal frontier forged in real time. Jet black sand stretching from fresh lava fields, steam plumes rising like ghosts where glowing orange rivers meet the Pacific. The air thick with sulfur, salt, and the metallic tang of creation. Hawaii's Big Island, along the southeast coast near where Kilauea volcano has poured lava into the sea for decades, especially during eruptive phases, creates ephemeral black sand beaches that appear, grow, and vanish as molten rock cools and shatters on contact with water. The landscape glows at night with lava tubes cracking open, bright veins against the dark, while daytime reveals steaming benches of new land, cracked pahoehoe flows frozen mid-ripple, and the relentless churn of waves against superheated rock. It's mesmerizing, otherworldly. The birth of land itself, a rare chance to witness geology in violent action. Adventurers, photographers, and volcano enthusiasts trek to vantage points or boat tours to witness the spectacle, drawn by the primal drama of fire meeting sea. But this creation zone is one of the planet's most unforgiving coastal death traps, where the ocean entry points rank among the deadliest due to a cocktail of thermal, chemical, and structural hazards. Lava benches, platforms of cooled rock extending from shore, form rapidly, but collapse unpredictably when undercut by waves or internal heat. When they fail, massive steam explosions hurl molten fragments, scalding water, and dense boulders hundreds of feet inland. Laze, lava haze, rises as a toxic plume. Hydrochloric acid gas from seawater reacting with lava, mixed with glassy shards and sulfur dioxide, creating a corrosive fog that burns lungs, eyes, and skin like battery acid vapor. Water near entry points superheats to over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, capable of boiling alive anyone who falls in. Collapsing benches have swept people into the sea or buried them under rubble. In 1993, a visitor was lost when a bench gave way. Historical phases saw dozens perish from related hazards: tsunamis triggered by collapses, toxic gas asphyxiation, or direct lava contact. While active flows shift and pauses occur, the zones remain closed to public access during eruptions for good reason. No warning can fully prepare for sudden, explosive failure. The anatomy of the threat fuses volcanic mechanics with oceanic fury. Kilauea, one of the world's most active volcanoes, extrudes fluid basalt that fragments into sand and blocks on contact with cold water, building benches that look stable but hide molten interiors. Waves erode from below. Heat weakens structure. Collapse exposes incandescent rock, triggering hydrovolcanic blasts, violent, steam-driven eruptions that propel lava bombs like cannon fire. Laze plumes drift with wind, creating acid rain and respiratory hazards miles downwind. Ocean temperatures spike locally, turning shallows into scalding baths. Isolation amplifies peril. Remote coastlines lack quick rescue. Helicopters struggle in ash-laden air. Boats risk superheated water damage. During peak activity, park rangers and scientists enforce strict closures, but trespassers, drawn by the glow, sneak in, underestimating speed of change. Picture one reckless day chasing the fire show, and catastrophe unfolds methodically. You hike off trail or boat close during an active flow, ignoring barricades and warnings. The ground vibrates faintly, steam hisses from cracks. You stand on what seems solid new land, black sand warm underfoot, orange glow pulsing beneath. Waves crash, sending spray that evaporates instantly on hot rock. A bench edge cracks audibly. You freeze. Then collapse. Tons of rock tumble seaward, exposing glowing interior. Steam erupts violently, hurling glass shards and acid-laced mist. You choke, eyes burning, skin stinging. If near the edge, the drop pulls you into boiling water, scalds in seconds, drowning follows. Or lava bombs rain down, fracturing bones, or worse. Survivors, if any, describe the shock. Beauty turning infernal in heartbeats. Air unbreathable. Escape impossible. Rescue arrives late, facing toxic conditions themselves. Medical aftermath. Severe burns, chemical pneumonitis, permanent lung damage, trauma etched deep. The irony burns hottest here. Kilauea draws millions to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park for safe viewing. Overlooks, trails, science centers, fueling tourism that funds monitoring and education. Yet the ocean entries tempt with forbidden intimacy, getting close to creation's forge. Authorities close areas during flows, post lethal warnings, but the primal pull of witnessing Earth's raw power overrides sense. Nature forges new land indifferently, heedless of spectators. The same process that builds beauty destroys without warning. Philosophically, these molten shores confront elemental hubris. We marvel at volcanoes as spectacles, assuming distance or luck insulates us. But Kilauea entries reveal fire and water as equal destroyers. Combined, unstoppable. Stats tally few recent public fatalities thanks to closures, yet historical losses and near misses underscore the truth. Some forces aren't for close observation. Beauty born of violence carries inherent risk. Approaching too near invites annihilation. Here, paradise isn't just perilous, it's actively forging, and observers are footnotes. From Hawaii's glowing, collapsing creation zones, we turn to polluted waters where beauty hides toxic despair. Next, a once idyllic stretch turned nightmare by industrial poison. Brace. The water here kills slowly. Beach number 8. Guanabara Bay beaches. For example, Flamengo or Botafogo areas, Rio de Janeiro, the toxic lagoon where beauty floats on sewage. Picture the iconic curve of Rio de Janeiro's shoreline, where Sugarloaf Mountain rises dramatically against a backdrop of lush hills, Christ the Redeemer gazing down benevolently, and the bay sparkles under relentless tropical sun. Guanabara Bay, cradling neighborhoods like Flamengo, Botafogo, and Copacabana's fringes, offers postcard views. Sailboats bobbing, beaches lined with mosaic sidewalks, vendors hawking coconuts, the distant hum of city life blending with waves. It's the heart of Carioca paradise. Warm water, vibrant culture, the promise of samba and sunset caipirinhas. Tourists and locals alike flock to these urban shores for a quick dip, a jog along the promenade, or simply to soak in the atmosphere of one of the world's most photographed cities. Yet beneath that shimmering surface lurks one of the planet's most persistently poisoned coastal zones. Guanabara Bay has long been infamous for extreme pollution. Raw sewage, industrial runoff, garbage, and untreated waste from millions of residents turning the water into a bacterial soup. High levels of fecal coliform, viruses, heavy metals, and floating debris make swimming here a gamble with gastrointestinal illness, skin infections, hepatitis, or worse. During the 2016 Olympics, international outrage flared when tests revealed virus levels so high that athletes faced near-certain infection from ingesting even tiny amounts of water. Despite cleanup promises and billions spent on sanitation projects, progress has been glacial. Overflows during rains still dump millions of gallons of untreated sewage daily. Plastic trash carpets the shallows, and fish kills occur regularly from oxygen depletion and toxins. While not always instantly fatal like a shark bite or rogue wave, the cumulative hazard earns it a spot on lists of the world's dirtiest and most health-threatening beaches. Prolonged exposure risks chronic conditions, and in extreme cases, bacterial superbugs or parasitic infections have hospitalized or killed the unwary. The anatomy of the threat stems from urban overload meeting a semi-enclosed bay. Rio's population exceeds 10 million in the metro area, with inadequate sewage infrastructure, much of it funneled straight into rivers and streams that empty into the bay. Heavy rains overwhelm the system, causing combined sewer overflows that release everything from household waste to hospital runoff. Industrial zones along the edges contribute chemicals like lead, mercury, and petroleum residues. The bay's poor circulation traps pollutants, fostering algal blooms that further deplete oxygen and release toxins. Floating garbage, plastic bags, bottles, tires, creates physical hazards and breeding grounds for disease vectors. During Olympic preparations, authorities installed eco-barriers to catch trash and promised treatment plants. But corruption scandals, funding shortfalls, and ongoing urban growth mean the bay remains heavily contaminated most of the year. Signs sometimes warn against swimming, but enforcement is lax, and the cultural habit of dipping in persists. Spend one ordinary day in this deceptive beauty, and the slow poison reveals itself gradually. You arrive at Flamengo Beach mid-morning, the promenade alive with joggers, cyclists, and families. The water looks inviting, blue-green under clear skies, small waves lapping at the concrete edge. You wade in for a refreshing dip, the warmth soothing after a walk. The water feels slightly oily, a faint chemical whiff mixing with salt, but you shrug it off as normal for a city beach. Kids splash nearby, someone tosses a frisbee. Later, perhaps a faint stomach cramp starts, nothing dramatic. By evening, nausea builds, vomiting follows, fever spikes. What seemed minor escalates. Diarrhea, dehydration, perhaps a trip to emergency where doctors diagnose bacterial gastroenteritis, or worse. E. coli, norovirus, or antibiotic-resistant strains from the cocktail of pollutants. Locals know the risks. Many avoid full immersion, sticking to showers or pools. But tourists, lured by the view, often learn the hard way. In severe cases, especially for children, elderly, or immunocompromised, hospitalization stretches days or weeks. Rare fatalities tie back to sepsis or organ failure from overwhelming infection. Cleanup crews occasionally skim surface trash, but the invisible threats, pathogens, chemicals, persist unseen. The bitterest irony? Guanabara Bay should be Rio's crown jewel. Its natural beauty, mountains, islands, biodiversity remnants, draws global tourism that sustains the economy. Massive investments promised renewal. Treatment plants, dredging, reforestation. Yet systemic issues, inequality, corruption, rapid urbanization, keep the bay sick. Events like Carnival or New Year's fireworks light up polluted waters. Crowds cheer on toxic shores. Nature absorbs the abuse quietly. Fish mutate or die off. Birds avoid the sludge. But humans keep returning, drawn by the myth of Rio's endless summer. Philosophically, these shores expose the cost of unchecked progress. We build cities against nature, assuming technology or will can contain the mess. But Guanabara reminds us pollution is democratic. It poisons everyone, rich or poor, local or visitor. Stats show high bacterial counts year-round. Illness reports spike after rains. Yet the beach culture endures. The real dread isn't dramatic death. It's the insidious certainty that every swim chips away at health, that beauty masks decay. Here, paradise isn't poisoned overnight. It's eroded slowly, relentlessly, until the sparkle hides only sickness. From Rio's sewage-laced urban lagoon, we pivot to a remote atoll where nuclear legacy lingers in the sand and sea. Next, Bikini Atoll, the irradiated paradise frozen in Cold War fallout. Radiation doesn't roar, it whispers death for generations. Beach number 9, Bikini Atoll, the irradiated paradise where the sand glows with Cold War legacy. Imagine a ring of 23 coral islands encircling a vast turquoise lagoon in the remote Marshall Islands. Palm trees swaying over powdery white sand, crystal clear water teeming with fish and shipwrecks from another era. Bikini Atoll looks every bit the tropical dream, secluded, pristine, the kind of place that inspired cartoons and postcards of endless summer. The lagoon's depth and isolation once made it ideal for something far darker. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States conducted 23 nuclear tests here, under names like Operation Crossroads and Operation Castle. The blast vaporized islands, sank test fleets of warships, and left behind a legacy of contamination that turns this apparent Eden into one of the planet's most quietly lethal shores. Divers now explore the underwater ghost fleet, aircraft carriers, battleships, submarines half buried in sand. But the beauty masks invisible poison that lingers in soil, water, and food chain. The mirage of paradise twists into nightmare because of persistent radiation. The test released energy equivalent to 77 million tons of TNT, scattering fallout across the Pacific. The infamous Castle Bravo detonation in 1954, a hydrogen bomb 15 megatons strong, far exceeding predictions, created a fireball 4 miles wide, blanketing nearby atolls in radioactive ash and contaminating global winds. Bikini itself suffered direct hits. Soil saturated with cesium-137, strontium-90, plutonium, and other isotopes. Radiation levels measured in recent studies reach hundreds of millirems per year, well above international safety thresholds for permanent habitation. Coconuts and pandanus fruits absorb cesium from the ground, concentrating it to dangerous levels. Fish in the lagoon bioaccumulate radionuclides through the food web. While acute radiation sickness isn't a daily risk for short visitors, long-term exposure heightens chances of thyroid cancer, leukemia, birth defects, and other illnesses. The original Bikinians, evacuated before the tests with promises of swift return, remain displaced. Attempts to resettle failed when crops proved toxic and health issues emerged. Today, the atoll is a restricted zone for most purposes, open only to supervised scientific dives or limited tourism. Yet the radiation endures, half-lives stretching decades or centuries. The anatomy of the threat is insidious and slow burning. Unlike sudden rips or stings, danger here accumulates silently. Gamma rays and beta particles emanate from contaminated sand and sediment. Inhaling dust or ingesting tainted seafood delivers internal doses. Shipwrecks, sunk deliberately as targets, now host thriving marine life: corals, sharks, tuna. Yet studies show elevated radionuclides in tissues. Diving exposes visitors to low-level external radiation, plus potential ingestion if equipment isn't decontaminated properly. The lagoon's water carries traces of fallout, though dilution helps. The real hazard lies in the terrestrial zone, beaches where topsoil holds the heaviest load. Weather stirs radioactive dust. Rain leaches isotopes deeper or into groundwater. No dramatic warnings like red flags exist here. Access is controlled, but the invisible nature breeds complacency among those who visit. Spend one supervised day in this forbidden frontier, and the peril unfolds in quiet unease. You fly in on a chartered plane, land on a small airstrip amid overgrown palms. Guides, often scientists or military contractors, escort you, dosimeters clicking softly. The beach gleams white, lagoon impossibly blue. You walk the sand, feeling warmth underfoot, but every step kicks up faint dust that might carry cesium. A boat takes you to dive sites. The Saratoga lies tilted on the bottom, corals growing over bomb-scarred hulls, fish schooling through gun turrets. Visibility is stunning. You glide past the ghostly fleet, camera flashing. Yet the guide reminds you, limit bottom time, avoid stirring sediment, no touching artifacts. Surface intervals feel heavier. Lunch from sealed rations, no local fruit. Back on shore, you rinse gear obsessively, knowing trace contamination clings. The thrill of history mixes with dread. This beauty was born of apocalypse, and the fallout never fully left. For the few who stay longer, researchers monitoring levels, cumulative exposure becomes real. Cancers traced to childhood fallout still appear in Marshallese communities. No immediate collapse or bite, just the slow certainty that time here shortens life expectancy. The irony scorches deepest. Bikini Atoll draws adventure divers for its unparalleled wrecks and marine recovery. Sharks patrol freely, corals rebound spectacularly in the absence of overfishing. The very destruction created a no-take sanctuary where life thrives amid ruins. Tourism whispers of return, yet official reports from the International Atomic Energy Agency and others declare resettlement unsafe. Promises to the Bikinians echo hollowly across generations. Nature heals visibly, vibrant reefs, abundant fish, but the invisible scars persist, reminding that human arrogance leaves marks deeper than any storm. Philosophically, Bikini Atoll confronts the long shadow of power. We test weapons in remote paradises, assuming distance absolves consequence. Yet fallout circles the globe, lingering in bones and sand. Stats show radiation declining slowly, some areas safer than background levels elsewhere. But the atoll's beaches remain monuments to hubris, beauty preserved at the cost of habitability. It whispers that some paradises are poisoned forever, luring the curious while punishing the careless with time's quiet revenge. From the radioactive sands of Bikini Atoll, we sail to icy isolation where the cold claims more than warmth. Next, a frozen Antarctic shore where ice cracks and hypothermia waits. Prepare. The chill here is absolute. Beach number 10, Antarctic coastal shores. For example, near McMurdo Station or Ross Island landing sites. The frozen frontier, where cold kills faster than any predator. Visualize the edge of the world, vast expanses of blinding white ice meeting a leaden southern ocean, tabular icebergs calving with thunderous cracks that echo across miles, penguins waddling in black and white tuxedos against the endless blue-white horizon. Antarctica's coastal beaches, more accurately, ice shelves, fast ice, and rocky landing zones near research stations like McMurdo or Rothera, offer a stark, alien beauty unmatched anywhere else. The air is so crisp it hurts to breathe. Sunlight bounces off snow with diamond intensity, and the silence between gusts feels profound. Zodiac cruises or helicopter drops bring intrepid visitors to these shores for brief landings. Stepping onto crunching sea ice, feeling the continent's raw power, witnessing emperor penguins or Weddell seals hauled out on floes. It's the ultimate bucket list frontier, a place where human presence feels like an intrusion on primordial nature, and the views inspire awe that borders on reverence. But this frozen paradise is one of the planet's most unforgiving environments, where death arrives not with drama, but with insidious speed, through hypothermia, cold shock, crevasses, and isolation. Water temperatures hover around 28 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, below freezing, triggering cold shock response in seconds. Gasping, hyperventilation, cardiac strain that can kill before hypothermia fully sets in. Falling through thin ice or capsizing from a zodiac means survival time measured in minutes. Even strong swimmers lose dexterity and consciousness rapidly. Crevasses hidden under snow bridges can swallow people or vehicles whole, some hundreds of feet deep. Blizzards descend without warning, reducing visibility to zero and wind chills to minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Dehydration sneaks up despite abundant ice because dry air pulls moisture from lungs faster than you can replenish. Sunburn and snowblindness strike even on overcast days due to ultraviolet reflection off ice. While fatalities among tourists remain rare thanks to strict expedition protocols, research personnel and historical explorers have perished from these hazards. Modern incidents include falls into water during transfers or exposure during storms. The continent claims lives quietly, through exhaustion, misjudgment, or mechanical failure far from help. The anatomy of the threat combines extreme physics with remoteness. Antarctic waters induce cold shock within 1 to 3 minutes of immersion. Involuntary gasping leads to drowning if the head submerges, while heart arrhythmias from sudden temperature drop claim others. Hypothermia follows. Core temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Shivering stops, confusion sets in, then unconsciousness and death. Ice shelves calve unpredictably. Bergs flip or roll, creating waves that swamp boats. Crevasses form in moving glaciers. Snow covers them like thin crust over pitfalls. Weather changes violently. Katabatic winds roar down from the interior at hurricane force. Evacuation relies on helicopters or ships that may be days away in bad conditions. No cell service, no quick ambulances. Protocols mandate immersion suits, buddy systems, and constant monitoring. But one slip, literal or figurative, can cascade into disaster. Spend one typical day on an Antarctic landing, and peril lurks beneath every pristine moment. Your expedition ship anchors offshore. Zodiacs ferry groups to a rocky beach or ice edge. You zip into heavy parkas, life jackets, insulated boots, gloves. Stepping ashore, snow crunches. Wind bites exposed skin instantly. You trek carefully across fast ice, admiring leopard seals lounging nearby, their gaze predatory but distant. The guide drills safety: stay together, watch for cracks, no running. You kneel to photograph penguins. Breath fogs your goggles. Then a gust hits. Visibility drops. Wind roars. Or during Zodiac return, a wave swamps the boat. Cold water floods boots. Shock grips. Gasping, you fight to stay afloat as limbs numb. Crew hauls you aboard, strips wet layers, blankets, hot drinks, but damage accelerates. Survivors describe the progression. Initial gasp, stealing air, muscles seizing, mind fogging as hypothermia claims control. Rescues involve rewarming on ship, sometimes medevac to distant bases. In fatal cases, bodies freeze solid before recovery. The contrast haunts. Moments earlier, exhilaration. Then, the cold's indifferent grip. The irony freezes deepest here. Antarctica draws adventurers seeking untouched purity. Cruise tourism booms. Research stations host scientists studying climate change. The very ice that mesmerizes also dooms. Strict regulations, guidelines, permits, survival training, /risks. Yet nature remains supreme. No lifeguards patrol these shores. Rescue depends on preparation and luck. The continent doesn't attack. It simply exists at extremes that human physiology can't match for long. Philosophically, Antarctic shores strip away illusions of mastery. We come for transcendence, assuming gear and guides conquer cold. But here, beauty is lethal indifference. Ice cracks without warning. Water steals heat relentlessly. Stats on fatalities stay low due to oversight, yet each near miss or historical loss reminds vulnerability peaks in isolation. Paradise here isn't welcoming. It's a test of endurance, where survival measures hubris against elemental force. The frozen edge teaches humility. Some places exist not for us to conquer, but to remind us how fragile we remain. From Antarctica's lethal chill where ice devours the unwary, we conclude our journey with one final, infamous shore that blends pollution, crime, and natural peril in a chaotic stew. Next, and last, a notorious stretch where danger comes from every angle. The end approaches. Hold your breath for the finale. Beach number 11, Copacabana Beach, during extreme pollution events or storm surges. Rio de Janeiro, the iconic stretch where beauty meets chaos and hidden killers. Envision the world's most famous crescent of sand, 3.5 miles of golden grains curving under Rio's postcard skyline, Sugarloaf and Corcovado framing the scene like jealous guardians, high-rises glittering behind rows of colorful umbrellas, vendors weaving through sunbathers with caipirinhas and sarongs, the constant pulse of bossa nova drifting from speakers. Copacabana Beach is synonymous with joy. Carnival energy year-round, volleyball games, surfers riding modest waves, families laughing in the shallows. It's the beating heart of Rio's tourism myth. Sexy, vibrant, endlessly photogenic. Millions visit annually, drawn by the promise of carefree days where the sun always shines and the ocean always welcomes. Yet this glamorous facade conceals layers of peril that spike during certain conditions, turning the party into a hazard zone. While not chronically deadly like venomous jellyfish beaches, Copacabana earns its spot on lethal lists through a combination of powerful shore breaks, unpredictable rips during big swells, extreme pollution surges after heavy rains, and the sheer volume of people creating secondary dangers. Drownings from overcrowding, rip current panics, and occasional shark sightings pushed closer by chum or storms. During summer storm seasons or after torrential downpours, raw sewage overflows from Guanabara Bay's tributaries flush into the surf zone, spiking bacterial counts to dangerous levels and creating floating debris hazards. Powerful south swells generate shore-pound waves that slam bathers against the sand, causing spinal injuries, concussions, or knockouts, followed by drowning. Rip currents form channels through the breaks, pulling even strong swimmers far out. Lifeguards post red flags, but crowds often ignore them. Shark encounters, mostly blacktips or bull sharks, are rare but documented, especially after heavy chumming from fishing boats, or during pollution-driven fish die-offs that attract predators. The sheer density, tens of thousands on peak days, means minor incidents cascade. One person in distress triggers panic. More enter the water to help, and rescues become chaotic. Annual drownings here number in the double digits, with pollution-related illnesses adding hundreds of hospitalizations. The anatomy of the threat blends natural forces, urban mismanagement, and human behavior. Rio's topography funnels Atlantic swells directly into Copacabana's open bay exposure. No protective reef means waves hit hard. Seasonal king tides and storms amplify rips, narrow, fast-moving outflows that form between breaking sections. Pollution peaks after rains. Untreated sewage, garbage, and runoff create floating slicks of plastic, medical waste, and pathogens. Fecobacteria levels can exceed safe swimming thresholds by thousands of % during events, risking ear infections, eye irritation, gastrointestinal disease, or rare but severe conditions like leptospirosis from rat urine-contaminated water. Overcrowding exacerbates everything. Poor visibility and murky surf after storms, delayed rescues because lifeguard towers get swamped with calls. Warning systems exist: colored flags, green safe, yellow caution, red danger. Loudspeakers. But cultural machismo and the lure of just one more wave override caution. Spend one peak danger day here and the shift from celebration to crisis happens fast. It's a scorching Saturday in high season. The beach is packed wall-to-wall umbrellas, music thumping, soccer balls flying. A cold front approaches, stirring bigger swells, 8-foot sets rolling in clean at first. You join the crowd, body surfing smaller waves, feeling invincible. Flags flutter yellow, then red, as the tide rises and rips strengthen. A group of teenagers paddle out anyway, laughing. One catches a wave, wipes out hard, head hits sand, neck snaps awkwardly. Friends rush in to help, panic spreads. Others get caught in the rip, dragged seaward screaming. Lifeguards sprint, jet skis roar out, but chaos reigns. Too many in the water, poor visibility from foam and debris. Meanwhile, recent rain has flushed sewage. The water smells faintly off, a slick sheen on the surface. You emerge coughing, skin tingling from invisible irritants. Hours later, stomach cramps hit. Fever, vomiting, a trip to the ER for antibiotics and fluids. In worse scenarios, spinal injuries leave victims paralyzed. Drownings occur quietly amid the noise. Rescuers pull bodies from the churn. Hospitals overflow with water-related cases. The party continues blocks away, oblivious. The irony slices like a riptide. Copacabana generates enormous revenue. Hotels, vendors, global image for Rio. It's marketed as the ultimate beach escape, yet the same factors that make it iconic, open exposure, urban proximity, massive crowds, fuel its dangers. Cleanup campaigns come and go. Promises of better sewage treatment echo every election cycle. Nature doesn't forgive neglect. Swells arrive regardless. Bacteria multiply regardless. Human hubris persists regardless. Philosophically, Copacabana exposes the fragility beneath glamour. We flock to beauty assuming safety in numbers or fame. But crowds amplify risk. Pollution poisons slowly, and the ocean remains indifferent to celebrity. Stats show drownings and illnesses fluctuate with weather and management, yet each season claims lives quietly. The real terror isn't one dramatic event, it's the cumulative gamble. Every dip risks infection. Every wave risks injury. Here, paradise is performative. The sand sparkles, but the water remembers every sin poured into it. From Rio's chaotic, polluted glamour where beauty battles neglect, we reach the final shore, one that combines isolation, cold, and the slow certainty of exposure. Last stop, a remote, wind-lashed beach where survival hangs by the thinnest thread. The end of the line awaits. Beach number 12, Sunset Beach, Mahogany Bay, St. Martin. The runway's edge where jets roar overhead and the sea claims the reckless. Picture the ultimate adrenaline cocktail. A narrow strip of white sand squeezed between turquoise Caribbean waters on one side and the roaring threshold of Princess Juliana International Airport on the other. Sunset Beach, often called Mahogany Bay, sits directly under the flight path of massive jets landing at one of the world's most famous low-approach runways. Planes thunder in mere dozens of feet above sunbathers' heads, engines screaming, landing gear extended, wind blast whipping sand into eyes, and cocktails flying off tables at beach bars like Sunset Bar and Grill. The view is cinematic. Jumbo jets framed against blue sky and palm trees. Tourists leaning on the chain-link fence, cheering each arrival like it's a spectator sport. It's the kind of spot that screams Instagram legend. Videos of people holding onto railings as the jet wash nearly lifts them off their feet go viral constantly. The beach should be pure fun. Warm water, cold drinks, the thrill of aviation porn without ever boarding a plane. But the mirage cracks wide open when you factor in the lethal combo of aviation hazards, powerful rip currents, sudden swells, and the sheer recklessness this spectacle inspires. This stretch ranks among the planet's most dangerous beaches, not from exotic predators or toxins, but from the everyday absurdity of human thrill-seeking colliding with unforgiving physics. Low-flying jets generate extreme downdraft, wind gusts strong enough to blow people off balance, send umbrellas cartwheeling, or knock over the unwary standing too close to the fence. In rare but documented cases, jet blast has caused injuries. Falls, concussions, or worse when people get hurled backward into hard surfaces. The water itself turns treacherous. Strong rip currents form near the runway's end due to tidal dynamics and wave refraction off the nearby reef, pulling swimmers out fast. Sudden squalls whip up choppy seas. The lack of protective barrier means waves pound hard. Overcrowding during peak arrivals adds chaos. People rush the fence for photos, ignoring warnings, leading to stampedes or drownings when someone gets swept away mid-selfie. Fatalities here tie more to water incidents than plane strikes. Drownings from rips, heart attacks from the sheer adrenaline overload. But the beach has seen its share of close calls, injuries, and at least a handful of confirmed deaths over decades from combined hazards. Signs warn, danger, low-flying aircraft, and swim at your own risk. But the roar of engines drowns out caution. The anatomy of the threat layers mechanical force with oceanic indifference. Jets approach at low altitude, sometimes as low as 50 feet, creating localized wind shear that feels like a sudden gale. The blast can reach hurricane-like speeds in pockets, enough to flip lounge chairs or send lightweight objects airborne. In the water, the runway's position funnels currents. Incoming tides clash with outgoing rips, forming unpredictable channels. No lifeguards patrol consistently. The beach is public but unmanaged in many sections. Weather turns Caribbean quick, clear skies to squalls in minutes, amplifying risks. The psychological pull seals the deal. The thrill of danger draws crowds who underestimate cumulative peril. One viral video inspires thousands. One bad day claims lives. Spend one peak arrival afternoon here, and the shift from exhilaration to emergency happens in a heartbeat. You stake out a spot near the fence, pina colada in hand, phone ready. A Boeing approaches, engines whine, growing deafening. The ground vibrates, wind builds. You brace against the fence as the jet passes overhead. So close the heat from engines brushes your face. Sand stings like needles. Cheers erupt, drinks spill, adrenaline surges. You head to the water for a cool-off, waves looking playful. You wade in, body surf a small set. Then the rip grabs, subtle at first, then insistent. Land recedes fast. You kick parallel like the signs say, but fatigue sets in quick under tropical sun. Panic edges, arms tire. On shore, another plane roars low. Distraction everywhere. If lucky, a bystander spots you, signals help. Jet skis or locals paddle out. In worse cases, exhaustion wins. Current carries you out past the breakers. Rescuers face their own risks. Strong swimmers needed, boats battling chop. Survivors recount the terror. One moment posing for photos under a landing jet, the next fighting blue water that doesn't care about your vacation. Medical aftermath. Near drownings treated with oxygen and monitoring. Broken bones from falls and jet blast. Sunburned panic turning to hypothermia shock despite warm seas. The sharpest sarcasm? This beach thrives on danger tourism. Bars sell t-shirts proclaiming, "I survived the jet blast." Videos rack up millions of views. The spot draws plane spotters worldwide. It's marketed as a unique thrill, yet the same spectacle that entertains endangers. Authorities post barriers, warnings, occasional closures during high winds, but the allure persists. Nature and technology combine here in absurd harmony. Jets land safely thousands of times yearly, but the margin for human error shrinks to nothing. Philosophically, Sunset Beach distills modern hubris to its essence. We chase manufactured danger for likes, assuming proximity equals control. Planes pass safely overhead, the ocean waits below. Stats on incidents stay scattered. Few official fatalities tied solely to jet blast, more to routine drownings. But each close call underscores the truth. Thrill isn't free. Beauty amplified by peril becomes addiction. The roar of engines masks the whisper of risk. Here, paradise isn't quiet. It's deafening, indifferent, and one gust or one wave away from tragedy. And so our journey through 13 circles of coastal hell concludes. From shark-infested Florida breaks to irradiated Pacific lagoons, rogue wave black sands to sewage-laced urban shores, we've traversed places where beauty serves as the perfect bait. Nature doesn't hate us, it simply operates without mercy or preference. These beaches remind us that paradise often hides teeth, sometimes literal, sometimes metaphorical. The real takeaway? Respect the edge. Admire from afar when warnings scream. Because in the end, the most lethal thing on any beach isn't the wave, the creature, or the fallout. It's the moment we forget we're not invincible. Thank you for joining this descent into the dark side of paradise. If any of these shores haunt your dreams, or make you grateful for your local tame stretch, drop a comment below. Which one would you never set foot on? Stay safe out there. The ocean always wins.